Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Because without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I am excited as can be because it's finally freaking Friday. Freaking Friday. Another week is in the books, which gets us another week closer to the NFL season. And I'm excited for a multitude of reasons. One, because I've been down here, I don't remember what day the countdown clock was in the man cave. Don't know. I think we started at like 120 something and all that, but it's like it takes a big jump closer to the season. Next weekend is Memorial Weekend. Memorial Weekend, which means school's out for summer. Yeah, that's right. Summer's here. We've got OTAs, or the mini camps, June 6th already. In training camp is not far away. The season's not far. I'll be back home as opposed to being in my mother-in-law's house, but I love being in my mother-in-law's house and working on the red brick house, and so much has changed over there at the red brick house. But I'll be back at the man cave, so I'll be able to see where the clock is. And I can't wait to see it because Michael Anthony Fitness Reaction Gig Economy electrician and inventables extraordinaire has got a prototype done. It's coming to you guys, you tailgate members, and it's definitely going to be something that all of you guys actually need for football season. You really do, and I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to hold on to it. Can't wait to show you guys tonight. So be sure to tune in 9 o'clock Eastern for our live stream. And I can't wait to get this red brick house together because I'm going to put a studio in there so that way all the stuff that I normally do at my house, I'll be able to do there as well. So we won't be skipping any beats. Anyway, something that's interesting to me as we get ready for the NFL season. One, the hierarchy of where teams think the Dallas Cowboys are in relationships to the Eagles, the 49ers, the Giants, and all that in the NFC. Um, and second, thinking about something I've said a couple years. One, I've always talked about defensive tackles, and we've got Mozzie Smith to try and help out. Something the Dallas Cowboys never, and I mean never, think about. Never. They just don't until this year. And finally, I think Dan Quinn has just wore him down. It's like, look, okay, Dan, just shut up. Here's your defensive tackle. Now leave us alone. But the other thing that's interesting to me is chicks dig the deep ball. We as fans love seeing that, CeeDee Lamb doing a, 180 to catch the football in the end zone. Teams love that great wide receiver. But the interesting thing about that great wide receiver, and you think about the TOs, you think about the Devontae Adams, you think about, the Julio Joneses and things. The thing that's interesting is these guys have incredible numbers. But the thing is those guys, much like the great running backs, aren't in the Super Bowl. The thing that's kind of changed and evolved, and I've kind of talked about this, is the importance of tight ends. When you look at, say, the last 10, 12, 15 years, one thing almost all of the Super Bowl teams have is not just a good tight end, but a great tight end, an exceptional tight end. You think about the George Kittles, you think about the Kelsick, you think about the Dallas Goddards, you think about, God, I can't remember the Eagles tight end before. You think about the Gronks. All these teams have that tight end. Because, see, the tight end is it's kind of like 12 personnel. See, I love 12 personnel. 12 personnel because with the tight ends we had last year, you could do anything out of 12 personnel. Because your tight end can block and he can catch. Tight end can be close to the line. He can split out. Tight end can be that go-to guy, that bigger target that's husky, that can sit between the zones when a play breaks down. He can be that hot guy. And as we've seen against us, can be a team killer down the middle. We have not had now Jason Witten was an incredible tight end. Jason Witten was everything you wanted in a tight end. Unfortunately, throughout most of Dak Prescott's career was towards the end of Jason Witten's, where Jason Witten was beginning to go downhill. And then after Jason Witten, Lord knows, we just went through a whole lot of different tight ends and not having an exceptional one. We've had tight end more by committee. Dalton Schultz was a good one. He had great pass catching numbers. This past year, he was injured quite a bit, got better at blocking, but still never became that security blanket. Sometimes you looked and it's just like you got to catch that, bro. You got to help your quarterback out. He's being chased like crazy and delivering the ball, and you got to get it. Now we have a group. I loved what Jake Ferguson did last year. I loved undrafted Peyton Hendershot. My buddy Roz said that he could be a kind of mini Kittle. And if you got that, then that's great. And then enter the Cowboys drafting Scoobmaker. Scoobmaker, who has idolized Jason Witten and has somewhat, not exactly reached out to him, but has definitely studied up and trying to be like a sponge with Jason Witten. And here's what basically Jason Witten and he's both said. Just scoured the internet pretty much. Scoobmaker said, trying to find out all I could. A family connections led him to Witten's cell phone before last week's minicamp, so he's texted Witten. He didn't reach out to me, but obviously I'm pulling for him, Witten said. I know it's a tough transition. He's got a lot of great resources. That's what I told him. Get in the pocket of Dak Prescott and Zach Martin. Watch them train. Watch them study. Watch them recover. Watch how they lead, what kind of teammates they are, and what they do in the weight room. And he'll be just fine. I know he's got a great group of guys to follow. And see, that's the thing. See, now Jason Witten was a third-round drafted tight end, and nobody saw him being as great as he is, and he will be a Hall of Famer. Tight ends typically aren't drafted really high. They're usually not. They're usually second, third, fourth-round guys that come on, and typically tight ends don't come on out the box being great. What we got last year for Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson was actually above the norm, I would actually say. And I think when you couple those two, along with Scoobmaker, that the future is bright for the Dallas Cowboys. Now the question is, and you think about the Dallas Cowboys being the first team that they coined security blanket with Jay Novacek. When all hell was breaking loose, you had that guy who would bail out the quarterback. He was there, ready to go, and hands that were always catching the football. And I don't know that we've had that throughout Dak Prescott's career. Again, for the most part, you end up having Jason Witten on the twilight of his career going to the Raiders and then coming back that last year. He was a shell of himself. It would have been nice to have had, 2010, 2012, 2014 Jason Witten with this offense. And I think if we have that this year, this offense will really be able to go. Now, I want to end up this morning with Ryan Clark, who is a usual Dallas Cowboy hater. And he has his, forgive me, I'm sorry, I've got a little congestion here. Sorry that I'm hawking up because I know somebody will go there and talk about me hawking up, and forgive me. Um, Ryan Clark is usually not that big a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, but this is his top five on Get Up. And I'm curious to see because a lot of people now are talking about the New York Giants, that the Giants could be one of those teams to beat. A few people have kind of said maybe the Eagles might come back a little bit. And of course, the Cowboys, well, they're just the Cowboys. Let's listen in before we get out of here.
So we thought RC has a fundamental list as well. His top 5 NFC teams as we head into these offseason. Let's start with number 1.
Okay, Cuss, you know why we started with number 1?
Yeah.
Because obviously number 1 is not a question. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked earlier about what Howie Roseman has been able to do in this offseason. And let's think about his 2 Hall of Fame careers as the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles. You build a team that goes to win a Super Bowl with Doug Peterson and Nick Foles as the quarterback. And now in your second iteration, you have Jalen Hurts, a team that's totally revamped with Nick Sirianni, and now you've added piece after piece from the University of Georgia, by the way, and you are now setting yourself up to be the representative in the Super Bowl again from the NFC. And at number 2, I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers, which is weird. You know why?
Wow.
We just never talk about them. They just keep winning, and they win, and they win, and they play great defense. They run the football. Kyle Shanahan is amazing in diagramming plays, and he can play with, like, any quarterback. And I know it's going to be like, okay,
that's true.
But the quarterback is hurt, too. But Brock Purdy, who got hurt, and we watched him play throughout the season after Jimmy Garoppolo was injured, he had them in a position to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. If not for that injury, if not for losing JJ after him, you have an opportunity to win. I'm going to go Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, no.
Really?
Now, first off, I'm doing it for the show, B. You know you got to talk about the Dallas. Hell no, they should be one. Are you a Cowboys fan?
I'm doing it for.
They should be one. This one I thought we had some good.
Doing it for the show.
When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, I think it's a team that decided to stay steady. You go first round, you get a defensive tackle because you need to stop the run.
Yes.
Now we see Micah Parsons is continuing to build himself up to play that defensive end position. I believe Stephon Gilmore is one of the more underrated moves made in this offseason because now you have a guy opposite Diggs that can show him some of the veteran things that has made this guy a defensive player of the year, and I believe that is huge. At number 4, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
And I know people are going to be like, oh, but it's just Geno.
What?
Oh, but
Okay.
it's just Pete Carroll. But you go out and you add Jackson Smith and Jigba in the first round with DK Metcalf, with Tyler Lockett, with us seeing the ascension of Geno Smith to being a very viable franchise quarterback. And now Bobby Wagner is back in Seattle where he always belonged. And this is a team that I expect to be better on defense. But when I watch what they were able to do offensively last year, this is a team that was explosive. And now you think about some of those turnovers created by San Francisco in the first round of the playoff. I don't expect those things to happen down the stretch. They'll finish second in the West, but they'll be one of the top 5 teams in the NFC.
Wow.
And at number 5, come on.
Who we have number 5?
I'm fired up about this. The Detroit Lions. Now, I'm gonna be honest.
Not the
I was
Giants?
pissed off for Detroit in the first round. Right? You go running back early. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
Then you go to linebacker that I felt you could have gotten in the second round, and I was like, ah. Then you get the tight end. Now you get the safety. This is a team in the Detroit Lions that found ways to make themselves better. You added pieces on the back end to a secondary that we actually saw gel down the stretch of the season. Jared Goff has made himself a quarterback who deserves another contract in Detroit. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is somebody from his draft class that was full of wide receivers that is showing that he can be an all-pro in the future. I think the Detroit Lions are the team that wins the NFC North.
Yeah, we'd like to see, are they Simba or are they the Lion King? We'll see. Okay.
Simba became the Lion King.
Well, that's true. But let's see if they make that transition.
The hyenas are taking over the Badlands.
Tim, you saw the list here. How far, in your opinion, are the Cowboys from the Eagles?
Well, let me just say this, okay? Like, and RC knows this. We've worked together a long time. I am negative. It's so easy for me to like see somebody's list and just like tear it apart. Negative. Like, we know that, okay? Now, here's the thing. RC and I also have worked together. Clearly, we've worked together for way too long. Teammates once upon a day back in Washington. Here's the deal. A little post-it note that I wrote down, okay? Hey, these are the teams. Like, this is my top 5 list. It's the stinking same thing as RC's list.
Okay. So the Giants get dissed?
Be negative. Like, that's all
I'm about to cut all my
do is
hair
come
off.
tear apart his list.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same list.
Interesting.
Jeff, be the voice of reason here. What do you think?
Let's see what Jeff
I mean,
Darlington has
look,
to
I
say.
love the 49ers at 2. By the way, Post-it notes, are those still a thing? Do we still use those? Yeah, we do. Look,
They are.
the 49ers at 2 is such a good call. And I think that really it is a matter of number 1 and number 2, and then the rest can all figure it out. Because number 1, yeah, obviously the Eagles. Number 2, the 49ers, you can look at it one of two ways. You can either look at it as they won with their third quarterback in Brock Purdy because that's how good they were, or you can look at it as, look, Brock Purdy is the real deal. Either way, you've got to have some optimism going into the season. So I like the list, RC. Wouldn't expect anything else.
I think it's the talent around
it. When we talk about the biggest threat, Tim, I mean, it's been you played in the division. It's been like 20 years since they've had a repeat champion in that division, so you know there's got to be a new the NFC East division champ. That's why I'm saying it's got to be the Dallas Cowboys.
This reeks of Dallas Cowboy fandom.
Come on, Tim. It's got to be the Cowboys.
My concern on Dallas is, look, like the change. You lose your coordinators. To me, that matters. Like, you look at what they've done offensively, and people can say what they want about Kellen Moore, but when he was there, they were
the Eagles lost both of theirs.
Everybody. In fact, they were up near the Kansas City Chiefs while he was the offensive coordinator. When you look at points per game, like, I just think that when you make that type of adjustment, that type of shift, it's hard to recover that. It's not just like an even swap. And so I think they're going to miss him. I think that matters. I would also just say this. I believe
the Eagles aren't going to miss their 2 coordinators they lost.
And
we
then
lost
when
one.
you go Niners, Cowboys, and you want to run down the list, I think there's a pretty significant gap from the Philadelphia Eagles and everybody else that we want to say is a threat.
And listen, I know that, but you also had an offensive coordinator who was just enamored with points and didn't know how to control the clock. Now your head coach is taking over, a head coach calling plays, a head coach who won a Super Bowl when he was calling plays.
A head coach that can't figure out when to spike the ball. A head coach that lets a team run a draw when there's 13 seconds. A head coach that can't stop a team from getting penalties. Yeah, that's the guy we know. A head coach.
All right. To be answered this season. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys over at the Red Brick House. Definitely check out Joe Boo's day job. We'll be there. Peace.